Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Forbidden Land podcast. Pretty interesting week. There was an election on Tuesday, a primary election in Georgia and Kentucky and Pennsylvania. If there was any other primaries, sorry, I wasn't really paying attention to them. But yeah, we had some primary elections. And we had a decent amount of news with other candidates running in other primaries. We even had some news from people who were elected on one promise and then totally undid all the stuff that they said they were going to do. So let's start off with a little bit of stuff about Israel, because we just can't escape Israel's influence. And a lot of these stories are going to be Israel-based. So yeah, let's get into it. So Bill Maher decided to go on a pro-Israel rant about one of the internet's most pro-Israel content creators.
People say the left and the right can't agree on anything these days. Well, there is this one thing they agree on. Right-winger Tucker Carlson has Nick Fuentes and Holocaust deniers on his podcast and wonders along with them who really was the bad guy in World War II. And the New York Times has on their podcast super leftist Hassan Piker, who they call a progressive mind, and who says Zionists should be treated the same as Nazis, which I assume means hung at Nuremberg.
I don't see what's necessarily wrong with that statement. Although I would probably argue it should be the Zionists that are in power and directly causing the genocide. But very weird way. I like how Bill Maher speaks in the way that he says shit in the assumption that you already agree with him. And so everything he says makes no fucking sense. Him being like, guess that means that Zionists should be hung at Nuremberg. I cannot speak for I will be in a lot of trouble if I do. Yeah, I don't know how that makes any sense.
That's what progressive is now? I guess so. The kids.
You know what? Actually, he's probably using the term Zionist as a stand-in for Jews. Because a lot of liberals like him like to do that. A lot of liberal Zionists love to conflate Zionism with Judaism. And so they'll just straight up conflate the two terms and just assume that you're also conflating the two terms. And thus it just doesn't end up making any sense. When you actually hear the thing that they're saying.
Are sure into it, but because you see that so.
Okay, so now I gotta go to the other clip because they kind of cut around it. But he had like a full monologue about Israel and calling it Jew hatred.
Hatred isn't just acceptable now, it's cool. Celebrities love it and make it trendy. It's the new Che Guevara t-shirt. The Islamophobia is just as bad argument is simply a false equivalency. Can you name a Jewish professor who talks about Muslims the way they get talked about? No. Anti-Jewish crimes, hate crimes, now outpace anti-Muslim hate crimes 9-1.
And his source is the ADL. His source, the ADL, the organization that counts every anti-Israel statement as being anti-Semitic. So while, yes, anti-Semitic hate crimes and incidents might have gone up a bit, they're not as high as the ADL says they are, because the ADL is also counting any anti-Israel statement as being anti-Semitic. But I love this whole, because Bill Maher's always been an Islamophobe, and I love this whole, look at anti-Muslim hate crimes. There's only 228. First of all, Muslims are still widely hated on the internet in the Western world. But also, do we not remember the 2000s? All throughout the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, when Americans were just deeply Islamophobic towards any Muslim. Also, what is the argument that he's even trying to make here? I think he's trying to say that anti-Semitic hate crimes justify Israel or something like that. He's kind of confusing.
A contest, and I'm certainly not saying do more of the other. I'm just saying these are the numbers, the facts, the reality. There is a frothing anxiousness for the literal extermination of this one group. And Democrats, where are you? If any other minority group was being talked about this way, you'd break out the kente cloth and have 10 benefit concerts.
Ugh. What is his problem? That was so, racially charged. That was insane. That was so deeply racially, charged right there. Because he's clearly calling back to 6 years ago during the George Floyd protests. Ugh. Why is he speaking like that? New rule. New rule. You can't care about the hate crimes of any other group if they're happening to Jewish people too. New rule, folks. How are we gonna care about anti-Jewish hate crimes if there are other hate crimes going on? Come on. All this to justify his Zionism, by the way. He literally just rides for Israel, and that's the only reason he's doing this.
But because you see that so many of your brainwashed by TikTok constituents now have an unfavorable view of Israel.
TikTok constituents.
You indulge them when you should be correcting them. You don't tell your woke idiots Israel isn't a colonizer or an apartheid state or committing genocide, and that if you brats had to spend a week anywhere in the Middle East other than Israel, you would understand what liberalism is not.
Folks, new rule. We have to do the transatlantic slave trade because those uncivilized, savage Africans spend a day in Africa, folks. Spend a day in Africa, and you'll find out what real liberalism looks like. New rule. We have to enslave black people because look at how barbaric Africa is. Go spend a day in Africa. I hate this. This smarmy attitude. I like it when guys like this, these old fucks who grew up in an era where all you ever learned was whatever you whatever you saw on TV or whatever you learned in school, and they never went to any libraries and read up on any history books, never read a fucking encyclopedia, nothing. They never learned anything throughout their life other than what was spoon-fed to them. That's been the largest hallmark of history, are swarms and swarms of people, whole populations, never educating themselves and just following what their leaders tell them. And this old fuck only believes what he sees right in front of him, and he doesn't bother to do any further research. He doesn't bother to look up what the Nakba is, although he knows what it is. He just denies that it was as bad as it was. He doesn't bother to look up any of the stuff Israel did in the 60s when they were land grabbing the Sinai Peninsula. He's never looked up what Israel's been doing to Palestinians for over 75 years. Never even bothered to research what they were doing between the Balfour Declaration and the establishment of the State of Israel. He's never bothered to research any of this stuff. But he's mad that young people have learned more about Israel's horrible crimes. That we've seen newsreels from places like Al Jazeera, who are reporting on the genocide in Gaza, reporting on the settlements in the West Bank, reporting on the bombings and soon-to-be genocide in Lebanon. That we've seen old newsreels from 15, 20 years ago of Israel doing this exact same shit in a Gaza with no Hamas. in the early 2000s, in the 90s, bombing Lebanon in the 80s and toppling buildings. Then you do all this research, you just see how many people were driven out of Palestine for the establishment of Israel. Read a fucking book, people. Because guys like this bank on you not reading. He's mad because young people have actually bothered to go do fucking research. And you know why they're doing research? You can't even really give them the full credit, because it's easier to do research now. Encyclopedias, you don't have to go to a library to find those anymore. You can look them up online. They've all been digitized. You can find this information. Google is basically an encyclopedia, or at least a way to get to one. You can find this information now. You can research it yourself at your fingertips. And this guy's mad. This old fuck is mad that young people can do this. It's why young people know more about the world than any generation before them. We know about what was going on in the Jim Crow South in the United States to the fullest detail. We don't have to rely on, oh, well, you learn in school this happened. You can just look that kind of stuff up. America can't pull the wool over our eyes about that kind of stuff. We know what we did in Vietnam now. We know what we were doing in the 90s, what Reagan was doing in the 80s, because we've been able to research these things. Stuff that when you bring them up to your grandparents, they go, oh, I don't remember that, because they've never researched it. It doesn't take a genius to find out what's going on in Gaza and in Lebanon and in the West Bank. It is horrific. A crime against humanity, to say the very least. Yeah, it's so insane. This guy's like, oh, this social media app that has famously become the fastest and most accessible way for young people to learn new, detailed information. Because you learn it through engaging content and a expert algorithm that feeds you this stuff. Opens your eyes to it, so you'll look it up further. He's mad that people are becoming smarter. Isn't this the same guy that said, 5 or 6 days after 9/11, that the pilots of the planes were not the cowards and that we're the real cowards because we just lob missiles into their countries? Where did that guy go? Why do we have this liberal Zionist shill now, peddling this anti-Muslim, anti-Arab, racist screed on HBO? Folks, go live in the Middle East. Go see how barbaric and backwards Arabs really are. Folks, if you want to know what it's like in Iran, Alfred Molina made this great movie about how barbaric and evil Arabs in Iran are. That's what this guy is like. Yeah, it's so disgusting. And I don't know how majority Muslim countries, how let's say that in a hypothetical scenario that they are backwards, that they are uncivilized. I'm not saying that they are. I'm saying in a hypothetical, let's say for the sake of argument that they are. How does that justify Israel coming in and just slaughtering people? How does that justify that? Okay, surrounding areas might be a bit more hostile to Western forces, so that justifies a rogue state with nuclear weapons in its arsenal, by the way, to go in and just start mass slaughtering innocent civilians. We have to just be okay with that? Ugh.
All the people likely running for president now on the Democratic side want it known they don't take money from AIPAC, the Israeli lobby, a stance which gives permission to actual anti-Semites to
Oh
say,
my God.
We're right about Israel. That's a dirty money from a dirty country. Oh, please. You take money from crypto and factory farmers and big tech, from Diddy and Weinstein and Epstein, but
I don't know what this point's supposed to be about.
AIPAC is too far? Let me just say this to all who ask me, why are you
I think the people that are talking about AIPAC funding also take issue with all corporate funding. I think most people actually don't like corporate funding. Corporate super PACs and PACs and all that stuff, people don't like those. Famously, people don't like those. But yes, if you're receiving money, the reason why AIPAC is a big standout is one, Israel's committing a genocide. So that's the first bit. But two, AIPAC is a foreign entity. I'm sorry, if the Russia super PAC came into this country and started paying off politicians, you'd be all over it. Why are we allowing a foreign nation, Israel, why are we allowing them to donate money to these candidates through a third-party super PAC? Why are we allowing that? Why are we okay with a foreign nation having its foothold in our elections?
you harder on the Democrats than you used to be? Until you fix this whole issue, stop asking me.
Oh my God. Yeah, everybody was clamoring at the fucking bit to know what Bill Maher thought. What Bill Maher thought about Israel. He says all this, by the way. Meanwhile, there is a pro rape rally going on outside the New York Times. I don't usually use inflammatory language like that, but the New York Times released a op-ed about the IDF, which, by the way, I don't know why it's an op-ed when it's just investigative journalism, but it's about the IDF raping Palestinians. It's about Israelis getting away with raping Palestinians. That's pretty much what the whole op-ed is. You should go read it. And I think there's also a video to accompany it. Yeah. That's what this protest is rallying against. They're saying that the New York Times is anti-Semitic for reporting on this. You know, there was actually very similar protests in Israel, where the Knesset was being pressured by the people into allowing the IDF to sexually abuse Palestinian prisoners. So, very similar. But yeah, that's what this rally is about. This is this is the stuff that people see on TikTok, and Bill Maher is mad that you get mad when you see stuff like this. Bill Maher doesn't like that you get mad when you see pro-rape rallies outside the New York Times. So. All right. Let's talk about China. So Donald Trump went to China, and it was so embarrassing, dude. I covered it a little bit last week. Oh my God. What the hell happened? What was going down in China? Dude, he was like, Xi, you're a great leader. You're a great leader, Xi. You just really know how to... Oh, do you show other leaders this this garden you're showing me? Wow. There was one moment when they were asking him about Taiwan. He's standing there next to Xi. He's all stiff. He's like, it was a great conversation. Yep. Great conversation. Yeah, it's like, it's the most presidential I've ever seen him whipped into. This dude was whipped. And then the White House is out here posting like edits of China. Look at this. Why are they like posting glazing ass China edits, man? Holy crap. They've got like the highlight reel. They've got the highlight reel. The aura edits of Xi Jinping. Oh my God. They even got aura edits of the military. Damn. Dude, what is this shit? It's literally glazing up China. It's so funny. It's so funny how whipped the White House is. He's literally kissing the ring, bro. There's no way that's real. Okay, that's not real. I'm not showing it. It's a funny edit, though. Where is it? Oh yeah, they gave Xi a bigger chair, so he'd appear bigger than Trump. He's just sitting there like a little kid. Bro's in this big ass chair. Oh my god. So apparently CNN actually aired a split screen of Trump's comments on China versus what he actually said while he was there.
Take a listen.
We can't continue to allow China to rape our country.
China's taking our jobs, our money.
We've had a fantastic relationship. Such respect for China.
We don't want you buying our land. We don't want you taking the land and basically taking it off the market.
You want to see farm prices drop? You want to see farmers lose a lot of money? Just take that out of the market.
There are about 31%, almost 31% of foreigners coming to Harvard. It's too much because we have Americans that want to go there.
I could tell them, I don't want any students. It's a very insulting thing to say to a country. If you want to see a university system die, take 500,000 people out of it.
Him talking big shit about China and then immediately backing down from it, dude. You know what's interesting is that if you ever wanted to lower cost of anything in this country, just let Chinese goods into the country. Let in Chinese phones, Chinese cars, and there you go. They're cheaper to produce in China. They're usually not profit driven. Just let in Chinese goods. And there you go. I've always found it really interesting that capitalists get so scared when they think about Chinese goods being able to enter this country. And you know, they get so scared about it because they know that they would have to drop their prices on stuff. They can't make their, $30 million in bonuses every year if they actually had to drop the price on some shit. So what an embarrassing trip to China. He didn't really get anything done from what I've read. I think he got like that Nvidia chip deal and that was it. Like, wow. So he got a good business deal for like the future of AI data centers and that's it. Like, that's all he achieved here. So the Iran war is not going very well for the United States. Saudi Arabia is apparently considering a non-aggression pact with Iran, which, like, awesome. One of our biggest allies in the Middle East, and one of the richest countries on the planet, is now trying to make a peace deal with Iran because the U.S. is fucking this up so bad. Like, how are we fucking up so bad? I mean, I know how, but we're fucking up so bad that even Saudi Arabia is like, we're gonna have to jump ship. I know they've been pressuring the White House a lot in the last month or so because, the Strait of Hormuz is a pretty important trade channel for countries like that. So in the House of Representatives, there was a bill to pass through a war powers resolution. And, we've done this before. We've done a few war powers resolutions recently. John Is it John Fetterman? Why am I feel like I just had a stroke trying to remember his name. Isn't it John Fetterman? Why am I stroking out on that? Yes. Holy shit. I think when you speak his name, it strokes you out. And you just fucking die. John Fetterman voted down the last War Powers resolution. He was the one single vote in the Senate to vote down the 7th War Powers resolution they've attempted to pass. The House had 3 Republicans cross the aisle to vote yes on this War Powers resolution. And the final vote was 212 to 212. It tied. Now, you might be thinking like, oh, those damn Republicans, if only we had one more, we could have passed the bill. Not true. We had just enough Republicans to pass this bill. The issue is the lone Democrat that voted no on this bill. And you might be thinking like, what? Why would he do that? Why would Jared Golden vote no on a Democrat War Powers resolution? And the one of the Republicans that voted yes was Thomas Massie, by the way. Jared Golden was the only Dem who opposed it. Jared Golden co-sponsored the bill. He co-sponsored it. This is the most blatant, like, proof that we have that there is a actual theory that there's the rotating villain in the Democratic Party. That there will always be a Democrat that steps in to protect corporate interests and take the fall. This one guy who co-sponsored the bill voted no on it. Just shills for Israel. Complete shills. And if he didn't vote no, somebody else would have. You know, people are like, oh, Hakeem Jeffries needs to get his shit together and whip his party. Hakeem Jeffries is probably the guy that convinced him to do this. In the same way that Chuck Schumer had to convince senators to reopen the government during the government shutdown. And at the end of the day, ended up voting no himself, but there were enough Democrats in the Senate to reopen the government. Insane. This is ridiculous how Israel captured this country is. So to follow up from last week, Trump said that he doesn't care about Americans' financial problems, which is, a pretty interesting thing to say when you have a midterm coming up. And, the consequences of that midterm could be impeachment and removal. But, with rising gas prices, with the price of groceries going up, the price of pretty much everything going up. The president has declared basically that he doesn't care, that people are in financial struggle right now. And you would think like, the president didn't mean that. Like Caroline Leavitt would come out and be like, oh, the president didn't mean that way. Y'all are just twisting his words, yada, yada, yada. Trump would probably come out and be like, no, I don't believe that. No, I was just talking some shit or whatever the fuck. No, he doubled down on it.
American financial situation.
Holy shit. Why is he talking in front of another helicopter? Can he stop doing this?
I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all.
That's right. That's a perfect statement. I'd make it again.
But you could.
I don't think.
He says that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and that's all he cares about. People. Yeah, this war is such a fucking disaster, man. Here's Jim Jordan getting grilled on CNN for the rising gas prices.
Went up under Biden, and I criticized it then because I didn't like why they were going up. I mean, they're going up a lot under this president that you supported, but you're just saying it's for the right reason in your view.
Yeah, and it's for a reason that he told the American people he was going to do. One thing I know about this president, unlike so many other people in elective office, when this president says something, he does what he said. He said he would cut taxes, he did. He said he would secure the border, he did. He said he would make sure Iran didn't get a nuclear weapon, and he's going about doing that. And thank goodness he's got the courage and the toughness and the willingness to do what he said when most of the other presidents, all the other presidents for 47 years wouldn't do it, but this guy.
I really do hate this fucking line because I've heard a lot of voters say this too. I really don't like the whole like, oh, well, he had to do it. Presidents have been cowards up to this point. Donald Trump had to do this. He didn't have to do this. Like, let's say Iran did get a nuclear weapon. They're not going to use it. You really think that it's really projection is what it is. You think that Iran would start nuclear holocaust just cause? Really? How come we haven't been nuked by any of our other adversaries that have them? How come? It's almost like they know we would enact nuclear holocaust if somebody fired off a nuke. And yet here's Trump like every week threatening to nuke Iran.
I will.
What about his promise in 2024 that if he was reelected, gas would be under $2 a gallon because of his policies?
Well, gas prices were coming down until we had to deal with this situation. But, you know, that's life. That's dealing with world. And
mighty convenient. Mighty convenient. Oh, well, we did promise that, but then we had to start this needless war to stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons.
The world we live in, I think the country gets the fundamental fact, and I know I understand this, President Trump makes decisions that are in the best interest of our nation. 250 years, greatest country in history. He makes decisions that are going to help our country and the long-term security and safety of the people he has and I think you want a commander-in-chief like that. You want a commander-in-chief who's willing to do tough things that he knows are good for us.
How is this good for us? That's what I would like to know. How is this good for us? Anybody have an answer? I would really like to know how this is benefiting the American people. Us being in Iran like this. I mean, seriously. So far, fuck, I keep yawning. So far, we have seen the rise in gas prices, which has led to the rise of the price of everything else. Because how do you think all that food's getting to your grocery store? Gas. How do you think stuff is being shipped to you? With gas. You see where I'm going. How do you think power is generated? With oil. So the price of everything has shot up. I don't see how this is helping us exactly. I really don't.
All of us, all of your viewers, everyone in this country, and frankly, everyone around the world, it is good if Iran doesn't get a nuclear weapon.
But if someone's listening to you and they were paying $2.98 a gallon of gas before the war started, and now they're paying $4.53, I mean, saying that's life might not, you know, make them feel better when they're filling up their car.
Your words. Those are your words, not mine. I'm saying.
No, you said that's life just now.
This is the situation. This is the situation. They were pursuing a nuclear weapon. They wanted to get there. President Trump said, I'm not going to do that. He ran on that, and he's taken the appropriate action that I think you want your commander-in-chief to take for the security and safety of America.
But he also ran on bringing gas prices to under $2 a gallon. I mean,
well, hopefully,
are voters supposed to look at that and say which one is...
Hopefully we'll get there soon. I want gas prices low, too. I mean, we all want gas prices low. Who doesn't, for goodness sake? But we also don't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. And I think the country's smart. They understand that decisions have to be made. Let's focus on getting those gas prices down as quickly and as fast as we can. But let's also focus on making sure that this regime, who was willing to hang a 19-year-old star athlete in their country, willing to do that, let's make sure they don't have a nuclear weapon.
You said that's life. I was just quoting what you said a second ago. Those were not my words. Those were your words.
No, I'm not saying that's life. Like, I'm saying life sometimes throws things at you that you didn't anticipate, and you have to deal with it. And you want a commander-in-chief who will deal with it and deal with it in a way that is focused on the safety of the people he was elected to serve and protect.
I think this is exactly why Republicans are losing. This is exactly why. Because it doesn't work anymore. People know that we didn't need to go to war with Iran. They know this now. Like, they're fully aware that we didn't have to go to war with Iran. But we did anyways. And now gas prices have shot up. Things are more expensive now. All right, let's talk about Israel influencing our elections. So, in Kentucky, in District 4, that's the district that Thomas Massie represents. Look, I am not a big fan of Thomas Massie on like most of his ideas. He's a Republican all the way, pretty much. He's a lot like a traditional Republican, but he definitely agrees with Trump on more than he disagrees with him on. That being said, he does have an anti-Israel stance. He's against the Iran war, and he co-authored the bill. That was the Epstein Transparency Act. And that's what he's like most known for right now, is the Epstein Transparency Act and his anti-Iran war stance. I believe he's even introduced war powers resolutions to the floor in the House. And he works with Ro Khanna on a lot of this stuff. And this House race, he's getting primaried by a Trump-backed candidate named Ed Galbraith. Thomas Massie receives zero money from pro-Israel PACs. However, this Ed Galbraith guy from pro-Israel PACs has received $15,522,757 as of May 18th. Holy shit. And because of this, he has made this race the most expensive House race in U.S. history. And with that, with all that money and the endorsement from Donald Trump, he squeaked out a win against Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie is now a lame duck representative. Did I put I put the clip in here. Here was Thomas Massie's concession, like a piece of his concession speech.
All right. Listen, I would have come out sooner, but I had to call my opponent and concede, and it took a while to find Ed Galbraith in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, I loved that part. I don't like it very much, but I do respect that he at least sticks by his principles. I do respect that. There was a clip where CBS asked him if he was anti-Semitic, and he's like, no. And he just goes on about like Israel's influence in our elections. This House race was so consequential. AIPAC is already doing its victory rounds that it knocked out another race using corporate AIPAC money. I believe it was two major organizations. It was like one organization that donated a few $1 million to him, and then another one ran by three AIPAC affiliated donors. And those two organizations were funding this guy to beat Thomas Massie. And yeah, this is the second race I've seen where AIPAC has funded their way to a victory. And of course, as usual, they're doing victory laps on it. They're still trying to beat out Abdul al-Sayed in Michigan. And they did lose in Pennsylvania District 3. Ayla Stanford, the one that didn't have a plan to abolish ICE and had pulled herself out of every major debate and everything, she got destroyed in her election in District 3. Absolutely destroyed. Let's see these primary results. Chris Rabb won 44.7% of the vote. Dude, she didn't even come in second place. She came in third place. Sharif Street, second place, 29%. She got 24% of the vote. Destroyed. He destroyed her. How crazy is that? Yeah, knocked her out of the park. Yeah, Israel lost that district. So now we will probably end up having yet another anti-Israel representative in the House. Speaking of Israel's influence on the Michigan primary, which is in August, by the way, that's so crazy that the primary is in August. I feel like all the primaries should occur at the end of the summer. Why are we doing all the primaries at the beginning of the year? And then there's this big gap till the general election. Yeah, the Michigan primary, which is in August. Mallory McMorrow, who claims to not take any AIPAC money, but her campaign definitely tried to take AIPAC money. The millennial wet blanket, who is just charismaless, is still in the race. Please stay in the race. Please stay. She's still in the race. She's still flubbing. Because this is what she said the other day. She said the other day, why would you want Medicare for all in a world where Trump and RFK Jr. have control over it? Now, by this logic, why have Social Security when Trump is in charge of Social Security? Why have Medicaid and Medicare when Trump is in charge of it? You know, why have Obamacare when he's in charge of it? All these services. You know, why even have them if Trump's going to just fuck with them? Probably because if you do have Medicare for all, the chances of a Trump-like figure being elected again are much slimmer. A lot of people don't think about this, because I've made the argument that we need another New Deal at this point, that the economy is so bad, it's mimicking Great Depression levels. At least we're headed there. And I've been arguing we need another New Deal with better workers' protections and better safety nets, that if you do lose your job, you're not going to be plunged into homelessness within a month. You know, stuff like that. And when the New Deal passed, and, you know, FDR passed it, his approval rating skyrocketed. And he fought the Supreme Court to keep his programs in place. And from FDR till Ronald Reagan, every president after that was a New Dealer president. They had to support it. Yeah, Eisenhower was elected, but Eisenhower wasn't really a Republican. He was kind of just anything that anybody wanted him to be. He respected New Deal policies. JFK, Lyndon B. Johnson, they were New Dealer Democrats. Richard Nixon, although had a lot of conservative policies, had a lot of progressive, liberal, like New Dealer policies too. Surprisingly enough. Jimmy Carter still had to abide by a lot of the New Deal principles because they were still popular. It was Ronald Reagan that killed the New Deal era. But we had almost 40 years of New Deal policies, an economy that was on the upswing. That was on the upswing. An economy that was essentially like almost bulletproof. Workers' unions all over the country. People were making decent money for a decent wage. They were able to afford homes at young ages in their early 20s. The baby boomer generation benefited from the New Deal greatly. And Ronald Reagan killed it. See how long it took to get to that point? I mean, granted, Jimmy Carter did a lot of the damage to lead to a Ronald Reagan figure. But that's my point, is that Jimmy Carter was a very moderate, centrist Democrat. And if the Democratic Party had just ran a progressive, Ronald Reagan probably wouldn't have ever happened. And that's my point. You give the people what they need, you improve their material conditions, and you'll have decades and decades of presidents and candidates and congresspeople that will be forced to follow those progressive ideals because they're just so damn popular. So yes, Medicare for all, if not fucked with, if allowed to flourish and function as intended, then yeah, it will prevent a Donald Trump and RFK style figure from re-entering the picture. You'll get figures like Eisenhower and even Nixon, who, although did the war on drugs, still passed a lot of economically progressive legislation. Still kept the system on its wheels because he had to, or else it would have made him deeply unpopular with the people. So, with that in mind, Mallory McMorrow saying that you can't have Medicare for all. Because think of what would happen if Trump was in charge of it. Yeah, if Trump fucked it up, we would fix it the next time around. And you can make the same argument about other social programs. Here is Emma Vigeland from the Majority Report asking Mallory McMorrow about Medicare for all. Here, I'll have to put my camera in the middle because they're chatting in a split screen right here.
A public option is an improvement, of course, on the private marketplace and the Affordable Care Act, but that would still involve premiums and deductibles. Why not go all the way to Medicare for all?
Yeah, I hear you on the vision. I 100% do. And what I know after almost a decade as experience in a legislator is that you need to push as far as you possibly can while building the coalition of votes to actually get it across the line. And the support for a true single payer system isn't there yet.
I think that...
Not true. People almost overwhelmingly support a single payer system, a public option, if you will. Now, I'm more for like universal healthcare, but I'll take a public option temporarily if it leads to universal healthcare down the line. You know, the Affordable Care Act didn't go far enough. The Affordable Care Act is literally what Section 8 is to housing. The government subsidizes your rates. That's it. That's not a public option.
When we're talking about how to keep a coalition together, the 77% of Democrats that think Israel's committing genocide, the 90% of Democrats that have a negative view of Israel or don't want to send them more money, that would, I would imagine, be the position that would be as unifying as possible, because it appears like this is kind of a consensus opinion now within the Democratic base.
I mean, I hear that it's reflective in polls, and reading polls and asserting how campaigns should be run based off of polls is not a way that you win in a state like ours.
This is what I love about candidates like her, is that, and I love that she backpedaled her Medicare for All statement, that she's like, no, I actually do support a single payer option. Sure you do. But I love that the state that explicitly voted against Kamala Harris, simply because the people that were against the genocide in Gaza simply just didn't show up for her. That the state of Michigan doesn't care about Israel. Michigan was a important factor in the 2024 election. Dearborn is a big community. You know, the Muslim population and the Arab population in Michigan is huge. Consequential enough that that issue was so serious that it lost Kamala Harris the state in 2024. I know that the autopsy's not out for that election, but we know what lost them the election by and large. And it was mostly Gaza, and then the other parts of it were bad messaging, bad optics. You know, maybe don't run your corpse, president, for the first few months, and then swap him out with his vice president, and then just corporatize and kneecap her energetic campaign. But yes, Gaza is a big, important issue in Michigan. And the argument that the government shouldn't have these social programs because what about Trump? Horrible argument. Way to lose your primary, dog. I really hope Abdul al-Sayed wins. I'm going to be really upset if he doesn't. Speaking of Democrats that are too fence-sitting, Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger, who just went on a tear of redistricting the state. You know, they just redistricted just to have it struck down by the court. I guess she gave up because she just vetoed a collective bargaining bill that was passed by the General Assembly. She just vetoed a collective bargaining bill. What the fuck? What were you hired for? What about that crazy ass AG you got? Didn't we elect people who we thought would actually get the job done? I say we like I live in Virginia. Why would you strike that down? Someone said they're called the Lockheed Liberals. And then, so I was going to talk about this, but honestly, I could have chopped this story out. It's the fact that then she followed it up with vetoing a bill that restricts ICE agents at courthouses, schools, and hospitals. Yeah, she literally vetoed the bill. Apparently, then she signed an executive order doing exactly what the bill states. But why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just pass the bill? Why go past a bill that does it and do an executive order which has way more limited enforcement power? I don't get it. I don't get these centrist liberal candidates, man. I'm really over it. Speaking of members of the government that just I really hate, this is my final story. And this is a big one for this week. In the United States, the federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. I think in the state of Georgia, it's $8.50. I don't remember. But on the federal level, it's $7.25. That comes out to be about $15,000 a year And that's without tax being taken out, if you even get taxes taken out at that point. 15 grand a year. So like a little bit over $1,000 a month. Now, if you live in like, you know, like a 200 square foot shed, that might be enough for you. And if you eat dirt for your meals every day, that might be enough for you. But in today's age, nobody's getting paid the federal minimum wage. If you are, that's fucking crazy. But most people are not. And they're making what is considered 10 years ago what should have been the new minimum wage, which is $15 an hour. In today's age, it should be more like $25 an hour because of inflation. And I want you to keep in mind that the federal minimum wage has not been altered since 2009. Keep the year 2009 in mind. Here is there was some recent legislation being passed around where congressional members cannot stock trade anymore, especially insider trading. But they cannot stock trade because the conflict of interest is too much. You know, you can't be passing legislation that could directly affect your stocks. Now, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, disagrees with this notion. Here's what he said in a conference the other day.
Well, look, you know, the salary of Congress has been frozen since 2009.
Weird. The salary of Congress hasn't changed since 2009.
You know, when you adjust for inflation, a member of Congress today is making 31% less than they made.
Oh, interesting. When you adjust for inflation? Weird that the pay of congressional members hasn't gone up despite huge inflation. God. I wonder if maybe another pay rate since 2009 should have gone up due to inflation.
It goes down every year. And over time, if you stay on this trajectory, you're going to have less qualified people who are willing to make the extreme sacrifice to run for Congress. I mean, it's just people just make a reasonable decision as a family on whether or not they can come and move to Washington, have a residence here, a residence at home, and do all the things that are required.
Interesting. Weird. Now, if you're wondering, congressional members make $84 an hour. They make over 170 grand a year. And this crybaby bitch is crying that that's not enough money to be a member of Congress. Oh, but you got to have your two houses. Your home there and your home here. Not true, by the way. You could always just live in the district you represent and fly to Washington. And if you got to be there for a few days, get a hotel. Get a fucking hotel. Now, I would be way more open to the idea of congressional salaries going up if they actually went to work. The members of Congress only go to work like 140 days out of the whole year. So they're making 174 grand to work less than half the year. And yeah, this thing is right. 70% of Americans can't even cover a $1,000 emergency. The fact that he's arguing right now that they need to make more so they can be a congressman. How about they work at the minimum wage? How about that? If you're saying you can't be in Congress without doing stock trading, bullshit.
So the counter argument is, and I have some sympathy. Look, at least let them engage in some stock trading so that they can continue to take care of their family.
Dude, even he can't say it because he knows how fucking stupid it sounds. And on top of that, Mike Johnson makes way more than that. He makes like $107 an hour. He makes a shitload of money a year. Over 200 grand. The minority leader of the House and the president pro tempore make $93 an hour. So I don't know, man. Yeah, the majority and minority leaders of the Senate and the president pro tempore make $93 an hour. So yeah, that's plenty of money. And like I just said, if they showed up to work at the same rate, like, 40 hours a week, every week, then I'd be more open to listening to the whole argument of having two different residencies, so you don't have to keep flying back and forth and staying in hotels. But they don't show up enough to justify another home in DC or in one of the surrounding states. They don't justify it. And the gall to be crying about how, this hasn't changed since they haven't changed the congressional salary since 2009, and it's not enough to live off of. Oh, and they apparently also get extra benefits, like food stipends and free medical, dental, and vision. I forgot they can go to Walter Reed basically for free. But they can't afford to support their families. Fuck off. Fuck off. This is the problem with this country now. And it's been a problem for a long time. Your elected officials are saying that they can't live and do their job on a salary that dwarfs yours. How do they expect you to live on a salary that's less than half of theirs? Combined as a couple, me and my girlfriend, we make still under $100,000 a year. But we make, more than 50 grand a year. I'll just say that. I won't say the exact number, but we make more than 50 grand a year as a unit. And we can barely afford to live. And these guys are making over $100,000 more than us. Individually. And they're crying about it. So. I know, usually I have good news to spread at the end of the episodes, but unfortunately that's where I decided to end the episode, is on that topic. Alright, I'm gonna make a Georgia elections result episode that'll probably come out, I don't know when. But the results are in. I'll at least say what they are. So Mike Collins won the Republican primary for the Senate. I don't think anybody's shocked by that. I think we all kind of assumed that was going to happen. Good Lord, why did it put me all the way at the bottom of the page? Keisha Lance Bottoms won, 56% of the vote. My boy, Jason Estevez, won 19% of the vote. He came in second place. Over 200,000 people voted for Jason. Yes! I love Jason Estevez. Thank you. He won she won the primary for the governor's race. Burt Jones and Rick Jackson are still going neck and neck, apparently, for the Republican governor primary. I'm not really sure. Oh, they're going to a runoff. Damn, they're going to a runoff election? Yikes. Josh McLaurin barely squeaked out a win in his primary. John F. Kennedy barely squeaked out a win. I believe both of those are going to a runoff as well. John Ossoff got 1 million votes. He obviously won against nobody. And then Mike Collins is the presumed U.S. Senate opponent against Derek Dooley. But I think they're also going to a runoff right now. So that's the update, folks. That's the primary update for Georgia. So we got a lot of runoff elections going on right now. And yeah, I'll give a follow-up to that when all that's finalized. So look forward to that. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You can go to patreon.com/forbiddenlandpod to support us. You can also go get our merch. And yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You can listen to this on audio-only platforms like the Samsung Fridge and Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, I guess. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next week. Peace.